The Ten Commandments. Now we'll start dwelling on the Ten Commandments. And as we have seen the blessedness of obedience, and we have seen how obedience is made possible through love. So I hope that you have that background in your heart and mind about the blessedness of obedience and how obedience is made possible through His love. Now our focus will turn to what we are supposed to obey. So let's go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 and 2.
And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Yeah, so he says, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of bondage. So the basic focus of my message today will be more about understanding the preciousness of the Ten Commandments. How precious they are and how weightier they are. Because the more we understand how precious are the commandments of God, we'll be able to give the due weight to them in order to follow them in our lives. So, we'll turn to Exodus chapter 19, verse 16 to 20. Exodus chapter 19, verse 16 to 20.
On the morning of the third day, there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud upon the mountain, and a very loud trumpet blast, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. Then Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet God, and they took their stand at the foot of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was wrapped in smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke of it went up like the smoke of a kiln, and the whole mountain quaked greatly.
Okay, so here you see, God Himself is coming down to speak His commandments. Now that is something worth giving thought to, something giving weight to. God is not sending His prophets, God is not sending some people to speak these commandments to the people of Israel. God Himself is coming down from heaven and speaking these commandments. That signifies that these commandments that God is giving are something that carry lot of weight in His sight. Okay, these commandments are carrying lot of value in God's sight. So if they are carrying so much of weight in God's sight, if they are carrying so much of value in the sight of God, how much are they supposed to be valued by us? And how much are we supposed to give weight to them? Okay, and that needs to be understood by us. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 4.
The Lord spoke with you face to face at the mountain.
Okay, so can you see that? God spoke His commandments to the people of Israel face to face. Okay, He spoke these commandments to the people of Israel face to face. He did not use any medium in proclaiming His commandments, but He directly came down upon the Mount Sinai and spoke of His commandments. So that shows how much weight and value He is giving to these commandments. Okay, and that is something that has to really sink into our hearts. The reason we ignore the commandments of God, or we don't give so much weight to the commandments of God, is we don't understand how precious they are, how much weight they carry in the sight of God. For us, many other things carry weight rather than the commandments, because we have not understood how much weight God is giving to them. So if we will come back to Exodus chapter 20, verse 2, He says, I am the Lord thy God. Okay, I am the Lord thy God, He is saying. So there are two things that we need to understand by this statement. God is not going directly into the commandments and speaking about them, but He is representing Himself, and He is first of all addressing His name there. What he is saying? I am the Lord, thy God. So when he is saying, I am the Lord, that speaks of his greatness. Okay, it is speaking, when he is saying, I am the Lord, it is speaking about how great he is. The word Lord over there is nothing but Yahweh. Okay, the name Lord is actually Yahweh, and that is what we have to understand. Come to Exodus chapter 3, verse 13 to 14.
Then Moses said to God, If I come to the people of Israel and say to them, The God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, What is his name?
Okay, they will ask me, What is your name?
What shall I say to them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent.
Okay, I am has sent. No, that is something that we have to think about. So when Moses goes to the people of Israel, they will ask him, Who has sent you? Moses is supposed to tell them, Yahweh has sent me. So what? Okay, when Moses goes to Pharaoh, and to Pharaoh he says, okay, our God is commanding you to send the people. What does Pharaoh say? He says, who is he? But when God is saying, go to the people of Israel and they ask you who is sending, you tell them Yahweh is sending. So what does it signify? That means that there is something in that name that has to be understood. That was supposed to be understood by the people of Israel. Because in that was their strength, in that was their hope, in that was their hope of deliverance. So what does Yahweh mean? Okay, Jehovah, God, what does that name signify? In the sight of the people of Israel, they give a lot of reverence to the name Yahweh than any other name of God. They give a lot of weight to the name of Yahweh. So much weight that they don't write the name Yahweh, but instead of that they brought in the name Lord, because they didn't want to address that name Yahweh because it was considered so reverentially by them. So what does Yahweh signify? There are four things that speaks or that are meant by the word Yahweh. First thing is that he is a self-sufficient being. Yahweh means he is somebody who is self-sufficient. That means that he is sufficient in himself. Okay, he is someone who is sufficient in himself. Okay, we need things outside of us to make us satisfied. But God is somebody who is satisfied in himself or sufficient in himself. Yahweh signifies the one who is self-sufficient, means that he is life and he is a bliss. Bliss means complete happiness. Okay, complete happiness. Come to Psalms chapter 36, verse 9. Psalms chapter 36.
For with thee is the fountain of
okay, so that means he is life. He doesn't depend on something outside of him to have life. He is life. Okay, in order to sustain his life, he is not dependent on anything outside of himself. He is life. Now that has to be understood. He is the fountain of life, or he is life. Also, Psalms chapter 16, verse 11.
Thou dost show me the path of
Okay, Psalmist is saying, you have shown me the path of life. What is that path of life? Or what is that life that he has in? A door is able. Yeah. 16, Psalms chapter 16, verse 11.
Thou dost show me the path of life. In thy presence there is fullness.
Okay, in thy presence there is fullness of joy.
In thy
right hand are pleasures forevermore. That means he is satisfied in himself, he is joyful in himself, he is happy in himself completely. Now that you need to understand about Yahweh. He is not seeking for joy from something outside of himself. He is not seeking for satisfaction from something outside of himself. He is satisfied in himself, he is sufficient in himself, he is completely happy in himself, he is completely joyful in himself, he is not dependent on anything outside of himself. That is what self-sufficient means. So when he says, I am that I am, that signifies he is someone who is self-sufficient. Not only that, other aspect that Yahweh speaks of is, he is self-existent. That means he is independent. His being is in himself, not outside of himself. Okay, for us, everything is outside of us. Our breath comes from outside of us. Our food comes from outside of us. Our joy comes from outside of us. Our name, our position, or our value comes from outside of us. Everything comes from outside of us. That means we are dependent beings. God is independent being. So Yahweh means someone who is independent, who is not dependent on anything or anyone outside of himself. So he need not receive anything. He is independent. Romans 11:35.
Or who has given a gift to him, that he might be repaid. For from him and through him and to him are all things.
Okay, read another translation.
Or who has first given God anything?
Who has first given anything to God that he is supposed to repay? He need not repay anybody because he doesn't receive anything. Why he doesn't receive anything? Because he is not dependent on anything outside of himself. He is independent. He exists independent of anything. He is absolutely independent. Job chapter 41 verse 11. Job chapter 41 verse 11.
Who has given to me that I should repay him?
Can you say it? Who has given to me that I should repay? Nobody can give to him anything because he doesn't need anything. Okay, no one can give him anything because he doesn't need anything. He is independent. He doesn't receive anything. So he does not owe anything to anybody. That is amazing. We say that I am praying to God and I am doing that for God, I am doing this for God. But see, God doesn't, he need not because he doesn't owe anything to anybody. Another aspect about Yahweh is, he is an eternal one. When he says, I am that I am, that signifies he is an eternal being. He is not a temporal being. I am. That means I am the first and I am the last. In him is the beginning, in him is the end, but he himself has no beginning and he himself has no end. He is the Alpha and the Omega. He is everlasting. He lasts forever. That's why he says, I am. Psalm 102, verse 24 to 27.
I said, oh my God, take me not.
Psalm 102 verse 24 to 27.
I said, oh my God, take me not away in the midst of my days. You whose years continue throughout all generations. At the beginning you existed and laid the foundations of the earth. The heavens are the work of your hands. They shall perish, but you shall remain and endure. Yes, all of them shall wear out and become old like a garment. Like a clothing you shall change them, and they shall be changed and pass away. But you remain the same.
Okay, you are forever. Okay, He is forever and ever. Okay, so He is an eternal being. Other aspect that Yahweh signifies is He is an immutable God. Immutable means He does not change. There is no change in Him. Change doesn't happen in Him. Malachi chapter 3 verse 6. He says, I am a God who does not change. Okay, He does not change. So, when God presents Himself with the name Yahweh to the people of Israel, they were supposed to understand these characters of Him. Okay, Yahweh is not just a name. Yahweh signifies the character of the person or the being who is speaking to them. Now, if somebody comes and presents his name like that, how can we relate with it? Okay, when I come across a personality like that, it will only scare me. Okay, I am standing in the presence of the one, or I am standing before the one who is eternal, who is immutable, who is everlasting, who is self-existent, and who is self-sufficient. If you come across a being like that, will you be able to stand? Will you be able to relate with him? No. Why? He is so great. But the beauty of that sentence is, if you will see in Exodus 22, he says, I am the Lord, thy God. Now that makes the difference. Now just imagine. When you come across a being like that, who is self-existent, self-sufficient, okay, eternal and immutable one, when you see him or when you understand his characters, he is so great and so awesome, beyond my capacity to understand, beyond my capacity to relate with. He says, I am thy God. That means, one who is having such greatness is ready to relate with me. Man, it changes my life. It changes everything. And that Israelites are supposed to understand, that you are supposed to understand. This is where the problem is coming. And this is where the Israelites failed. They did not understand who is speaking. Okay, so when he says, thy God, I am thy God, Yahweh, I am Yahweh, your God, that means the one who is self-sufficient, the one who is self-existent, that means the one who is all-sufficient is my God. So that means that I lack nothing. That means that because the one who is all-sufficient is my God, I should lack nothing. And that is what the psalmist is saying in Psalms 23:1. What does he say? What does he say? What does he say? Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But look at your life. How many wants do you have in your life? Why do you have so many wants in your life? But when God is presenting, Yahweh is presenting Himself to you, He is presenting Himself to you as an all-sufficient one. That means that He should become one point of satisfaction, one point of all your needs, all your wants, all your joy, all your satisfaction, all your security, all your comfort is at one point. But now, why is it that you are not sufficient? What is the reason? Because you are leaving that point and focusing on everything else. Okay, you are leaving that point and focusing on everything else. Look at Luke chapter 10. Verse 41.
The Lord replied to her by saying, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. There is need of only one.
Again, read in another translation.
And Jesus answered and said to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and troubled about many things, but one thing is needed.
What is that one thing? The all-sufficient one. Why is it that you have so many lacks, you don't have peace in your life, comfort in your life, joy in your life, satisfaction in your life? What is the reason? You are leaving aside the all-sufficient one and looking for other things to satisfy. If you will see that Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 13. Jeremiah 2:13.
My people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and healed up cisterns for themselves.
Again, this is a problem. You have sidelined the all-sufficient one and you are trying to dig wells for yourself. You are making pots for yourself, broken pots. What are broken pots? Relationships, money, job, name, position, fame. Okay, these are broken pots. No matter how much you try to get satisfaction from them, no matter how much you try to get satisfaction from them, you still seem to be lacking, still failing. What a reason? You are sidelining the all-sufficient one and going for something that doesn't have the ability to satisfy. And that is the problem. Is coming. Okay, so why Israel failed? When God made the people of Israel start from Egyptian bondage, God did not give them great amounts of food, great amounts of water, okay, great amount of clothing. He did not give them. He said, you start. But what about their food? What about their water? What about their clothing? What about their protection? What about their medicine? They had Yahweh. But look at us. Are we not like Israelites? We are storing up everything else, but when it is coming to the all-sufficient one, we are so much poor with regards to Him in our lives. Psalm chapter 34 verse 9.
So fear the Lord, you his saints, for those who fear him have no want.
Okay, what is he saying? Those who fear him have no want. But you fear people, you fear relationships, you fear job, you fear for money, you fear for your security, you fear for your health. That's why so many fears are there and want is also there. But what is he saying there? Read.
For those who fear him have
have no want. That means this is a problem. Your fear is in a wrong place. Your fear is in wrong place. You care for your name, you care for your fame, you care for your relationships, you care for all those things, and there you fear. Therefore, you are always lacking peace, always lacking joy, always lacking security, always lacking comfort. But what is he promising? He is saying, if you fear me, you will want nothing. Psalm 84:11.
So the Lord God is the Son
Mm.
of you.
Mm.
He bestows favor and honor.
Mm.
No good thing
No good thing does the Lord withhold.
from those who walk upright.
If you choose the path of righteousness, you will not lack. He is not saying you will not lack anything. He is saying you will not lack any good thing. My God. And there is so much of relationship between the people of Israel and us. We sideline the all-sufficient one. We sideline the one with whom we have a covenant. And we try to make a covenant or agreement with everything else in the world and suffer. Matthew 6:33.
But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things shall be yours as well.
Okay, understand this, man. Understand this. So when the Lord was addressing his name to the people of Israel, he was saying, I am Yahweh. I am the all-sufficient one. So, look to me, believe in me. But people of Israel did not believe, that's why they perished. So he is not only self-sufficient, self-existent, but he becomes my all-sufficient God. Then he is an eternal, unchangeable God. That means, it signifies that I can trust in him. He does not change. I can depend on his promises because he does not take back his promises. He does not alter his promises. So because he does not change, because he is eternal, okay, the promises that were given to the oldest of the people in the Bible, they still stand. Why? Because he is eternal and unchangeable. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 23-25.
You have been born anew, not of perishable seed, but of imperishable, through the living and the abiding word of God. For all flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flower of grass. The grass withers and the flower falls, but the word of the Lord abides forever.
Can you see that? His word stands forever. It stands forever. Why? Because he is eternal. Why? Because he does not change. He is not somebody who speaks a word and then changes the word. No. He is the one who speaks and stands by whatever he speaks. Romans 4:21.
Fully convinced that God was able to do what he had promised.
Abraham was fully convinced. Why? Because he understood he is unchangeable, he is eternal. But what happened to the people of Israel? Why were they complaining? Why were they grumbling? Why were they murmuring? Why were they sinning? Why were they failing? They did not know. They did not understand. Who is this Yahweh? That's why, if you will see Hebrews 3:12-18. Hebrews 3, verse 12 and verse 18.
Take heed, let there be in any of you unbelieving heart, leading you to fall away from the truth.
Okay, so can you see that? Why Israelites failed? Because they had an evil heart. What is that evil heart? An unbelieving heart. That was refusing to believe in this all-sufficient one. They were refusing to believe in the ability of the all-sufficient one. See the difference between Abraham and the people of Israel. Abraham believes the all-sufficient one and he receives the promise. Israel doesn't receive or does not believe in the all-sufficient one and they perish. Read verse 18.
And to whom did he swear that they should never enter his rest, but to those who were
disobedient. And they perished. You know why you are disobedient? Because you don't believe. Why you don't believe? You don't understand him to be your all-sufficient one. You don't understand him to be the one who is able to fulfill his promises. So Israel perished in the wilderness. Look at your life. Do you have peace? Do you have joy? Do you have comfort? Do you have hope? What is the reason? You are seeking your sufficiency in your work, in your relationships, in your position. That is the problem. So when God came on that mountain, he first addressed himself as, I am the Lord thy God. That means I am Yahweh and I am personally relating myself with you. So if you have me, you have everything. Now that God is giving this law. If that all-sufficient one, that eternal one is giving something, it will be of so much of value. And that's what we need to understand. So who is the one who is giving this law? Or how does he qualify to be a lawgiver? Okay, why should I follow his law? Because for anybody to give law, he should qualify two things. Okay, not everybody can make laws. But if God is making a law, that means he qualifies in two areas. One is he has authority to give the law. Okay, without authority, nobody can make laws. So how does God have authority to give the law? Turn to Psalm chapter 119, verse 73.
Thy hands have made and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn.
Okay, so can you see this? This man understood that he has been created. This man understood that he has been made by somebody. Now see Matthew 6:25. Matthew 6:25.
Therefore I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor about your body what you shall put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing?
Keep right.
Look at the birds of the air.
Okay, so if you will see that, he is saying, is not life more than body? Read that again.
Is not life more than food?
Food.
And the body more than clothing?
So what is he trying to say there? He is saying that I gave you life. I gave you body. So it is my responsibility to take care of them. So what is your responsibility? Okay, what is he saying? I gave you the body. You didn't ask me for that. I gave you life. You didn't ask me for that. So if I gave you life, I gave you body, So I should be responsible for that. Now that is where the problem is coming. You are taking his body, you are taking his life, and you are claiming ownership on it. How is that possible? Why do we worry? Why do we become anxious? Why do we struggle? Why do we cry? Why do we think so much about us? Reason. You don't understand that you are not responsible for yourself. You are responsible to the one who made you. You are not responsible to yourself. He is responsible to you. So that is what he is saying. Why do you worry? Why do you become anxious? Is not body more than clothing? Is not life more than food? I have given life, I have given body, so it is my responsibility. So what are we doing? We are taking somebody else's property and getting worried about it. As I was saying, do you really worry about what your neighbor is going through? Do you sit and worry about them, think about them, struggle about them, consider about them, what they are eating, what they are drinking, what they are going through? You don't think about it because that is their life. They are responsible for their life. In the same way, your life and your body is a responsibility of your Creator. Then what is my responsibility? To do the will of your Creator. And that is what we are not understanding. So if you will come back to Psalm 119 verse 73, what are they saying? Psalm 119 verse 73. Your hands have made me. So give me understanding that I may keep your commandments. So now what should be life for me? For me, life is not my job. For me, life is not my relationships. For me, life is doing His commandments. Okay, for me, life is doing His commandments. His commandments are life. If you will turn to John, that is what Jesus understood. John chapter 12, verse 50.
And I know that His commandment is eternal life.
Can you see that? What is Jesus saying? His commandment is life. But what is your problem? What is our problem? Turn to Job 23:12. Read that in KJV. Job 23:12.
I have not departed from the commandment of His lips. I have treasured the words of His mouth more than my necessary food.
Can you see that? What is Job saying? I have treasured His words more than my necessary food. What is our necessary food? Every day, 3 times you need to have food. But Job is saying, more than that, I consider your commandments. Understand that what is life for you? What is life for you? Why is the all-sufficient one not becoming all-sufficient one to you? Why is it that He is not becoming one-stop satisfaction for you? Why are you looking for satisfaction in television, in internet, in relationships, in your position and in your fame? Because He is not your all-sufficient. And if He doesn't become your all-sufficient one, you will perish like the people of Israel in the wilderness. You are seeking your sufficiency in your work, in your name, in your fame, in your position, and understand this, you will surely perish like the people of Israel if you will not understand this truth. Again, that is the greatest fear. If God doesn't become your one point satisfaction, and you are trying to gain satisfaction from TV, from internet, from phones and from relationships, you will perish. For sure, you will be destroyed, you will be eternally lost. Your salvation, your born again experience, your baptism, nothing will help if you will not understand this. He has to become your all-sufficient one. So, God as a lawgiver has an authority on me. Okay, His law is life to me. His commandment should become my life. Even if I am having food or not having food, I am supposed to do His commandments because He created me. Psalm 100 verse 3.
Know that the Lord is God.
Okay, know that the Lord is God. That means know that Yahweh is God. Yeah.
It is He
He who
who has made us,
has made us,
and
not we ourselves. You have not made yourself, so you cannot take care of yourself. You have not made yourself, so you cannot sustain yourself. You have not made yourself, so you cannot direct yourself. Okay, you have not made yourself, so you don't know yourself. Understand? He made you. He made you. So He knows you more than you know yourself. So stop living your life according to your feelings, your emotions, your experiences, and start living and doing His commandments. Because they are life. Only he who obeys His commandments has life, or else you are dead. So, by giving the law, He is showing to us that He has authority on us, and He is also showing to us His wisdom in it. Okay, when you see the commandments